Hey guys, welcome to the rest of you guys still coming in. We're going to give everybody a few minutes, but for those of you just joining us, would love to see some of your favorite food and bev brands in the chat. Maybe some you've been looking to try. Ooh, Muddy Bites. I was just on their website looking for some inspo for this. I've heard good things. Olipop is another one, yeah.
I was on a call yesterday and someone brought up Cometeer coffee, a little like frozen pod thing.
Ooh.
It's really good. I mean, I have no interest in them. I have no I'm just sharing what I've heard. I'm a big coffee consumer, so I'm gonna probably try them out.
Nice. I feel like there's a lot of really good coffee brands out there. Somebody recently mentioned Brightland to me. I believe it's an olive oil company, which is cool. Great niche. And our gourmet foods, all natural seasonings. Yes, lots of seasoning companies. We've got some good examples for you guys. So make sure to stay tuned, Priya. Hey, Eric, welcome. Awesome. Well, it's about 2 after, so we can go ahead and get started as more people come join us. Again, welcome to Top Trends for DTC Food and Beverage Brands. I'm your host, Catherine. I'm joined here by 4 of our favorite partners, Meat6, Postscript, Gatsby, and ShipBob. And I'm going to go ahead and let our panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly Bradford. I am a director of paid social at Meat6. We specialize in D2C e-commerce brands, and I've been working this past year specifically on scaling F&B brands. So I'm really excited to be here and talk with you all.
Hey guys, so I'm Brett. I'm the founder and CEO of a Shopify app called Gatsby, although we're not just on Shopify, but most of our clients are. Little fun fact, I actually used to be in the F&B space. My first company I started out of college was a healthy vending machine business throughout California. We serviced school districts actually in California, giving them healthier options. So I love the Natural Products Expo. My favorite weekend of the year when you get to try all the new stuff. And a great time of my life was in that industry. About 5 years ago, I started Gatsby, and we are a new type of influencer marketing platform. We sync in really well with, Justuno and other apps you might be using to help automate influencer marketing with your customers. I'll show you how it all works during my session.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Carly Dawdell, and I am the Senior Partner Manager at ShipBob. ShipBob fulfills orders for direct-to-consumer and B2B brands, and I'm super excited to be talking with everyone today.
Hey, everyone. Evan, I am on the technical partnership team here at Postscript. If you don't know, Postscript is an SMS marketing platform for Shopify stores. I work really closely with all of our technology partners, specifically also here at Justuno. Like Brad, I have a bit of a history in the food and beverage space where I previously worked at BioSteel, which was a sports nutrition brand, but also had a quite significant ready-to-drink line. So definitely empathize with some of the problems that you guys face on a daily basis, and sort of happy to help with what we can do in terms of your SMS strategy today.
Awesome. Zach, you're the last one.
Last one. I wasn't sure if Kimberly went. Yeah, my name is Zach Bailey. I'm the lead partner success strategist. I work with our agency partners and individual accounts daily, finding ways for them to use our Justuno conversion rate optimization suite, finding ways to help them grow their list, improve conversion opportunities, reduce exits, and ultimately reduce items being left in cart. So we're excited to help explore more options for all of our food and beverage accounts out there today.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Just a few logistics before we get started. You'll notice that there's a chat function and a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to let us know your thoughts and feelings and ask any questions. We've got a Q&A session at the end, so we'll make sure we get to them. And if you have to hop before we're done, we'll be sending out a recording later on. And with that, we're going to let Kimberly from Mute 6 take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Is everyone able to see my screen? I would hope. There we go. So today I'm going to be discussing how we're leveraging content to drive paid social performance specifically. I'm really excited to share with you some learnings that we've had over the past year on paid social, especially with how many changes there have been since the iOS 14 update last spring. I know that that is at the top of everyone's mind, so we're definitely going to get into that. So first things first, one of my core philosophies is utilizing a creative first strategy. So we can test audiences and tinker with campaign budgets every day, but without creative that wins, it's almost impossible to stand out in the crowd on social. There are many content types that work super well on social, but we found through years of testing, specifically with F&B brands, that there's a few that work the best. Having a good media mix of different creative types, as well as always testing new creative styles and angles, we are finding messaging that scales for our clients consistently and efficiently, despite the data loss that we've had over the past year. UGC is one of the top performing creative styles across the industry, and we found that using high energy people who are actively trying the product on camera and enjoying it works super well. Additionally, creatives like us versus them, highlighting our unique value propositions, as well as offering solutions to problems, those work really, really well as well. The purpose of these creatives is to introduce customers to the brand, and then we will walk them through the customer journey. So these are different ways in which we can approach our clients and approach them in a fun and exciting way, really grab their attention and then walk them through that journey. So the purchase journey for a customer in the F&B space is going to think, oh, that looks really appetizing. But then there are some key objections that they might start thinking about before they actually purchase the product. So they might start thinking, what ingredients does it contain? What is the cost per serving? Things like that. So our goal is to build creatives that specifically address this thought process. When we do that, we see an overall lift in account performance and total revenue. So each part of this journey should be addressed in your strategy to ensure you aren't missing out on any opportunities to sway your customers toward your brand. I know it looks like a lot, but when you address every single part of this, I promise it works super, super well, especially on social. Specifically looking at the creative framework of how do we take that and what does it look like creatively. So we highly recommend utilizing different types of creative throughout the funnel in order to maximize each opportunity when we're reaching customers and telling the story. So we found that when allocating specific types of creative throughout the funnel to drive a story with the customer and overcome any objections, it led to an overall increase in both in-platform ROAS and an overall revenue. So in this example for this beverage client, we found that implementing this strategy resulted in a 4x ROAS within 4 months and a 500% increase in revenue. We typically see creatives such as UGC, product intros, brand stories, or even unboxing videos work really fantastic in the acquisition level. Whereas in remarketing, we switch to objection busting creatives like testimonials or press reviews, creative showcasing our unique value propositions, or even entry offers is a really great way to kind of get them back into your funnel and push in remarketing. But by switching up our creatives by the funnel type, we are able to drive customers through that purchase journey, and it gives our creatives much more longevity as well. So we're hitting customers with different messages depending on where they are in the purchase process. So digging even deeper, how does this look like in practice? So this is an example of a tiered remarketing strategy. For this client, we started with a hero product intro video, and then at day 14, we showed a video specifically addressing pain points through social proof. So the purpose of this funnel, again, is to walk customers through that buying process and overcome any hesitations from finishing the purchase process. Also recommend testing these remarketing windows to find out what messages are resonating with your audience in each stage of their buying process. As a personal note, this is personally my favorite part of the winning strategy on social. How many times have you seen an ad on Instagram that's convinced you to buy something and then you buy it and you're like, hold on, I was in a trance. What just happened? This is the bread and butter for getting inside the minds of your customers and really telling the story of like why this is the product that they need in their lives. So we're going to get into everyone's favorite, the specific campaign testing in the account that we use to achieve these results. So first is thumb stops. So a core metric that you can use for testing is looking at thumb stop rates. So the average user scrolls over 300 feet on social media per day. So there is a lot of noise to cut through. How do we stand out? Testing the first 3 seconds of your video content can help you understand what is cutting through and stopping that scroll so people pay attention to your message. For this brand, we had the same video, but with 2 different 3-second openings. Video A is super appetizing, cheesy, pull apart. It's putting the product in the hands of an actual person, while the other one, it still has that same high energy, but it just so showcases the product on its own. In this example, video A was the winner and it provided the best thumb stop rate. So definitely testing these is a super, super simple way for you to see not just what is resonating with your customers, but also get better performance and get some really good data that you can rely on for scaling. So this is another great example of when we tested this approach with this sponge brand. We actually discovered that video A of the person squeezing the sponge had a 12% higher thumb stop rate than the video of the high energy girl. And that led to an overall 24% lower CPA, which is amazing. So testing those first 3 seconds can really help bring additional value to your marketing, but also provide valuable data and help move the needle on your sales growth, which is ultimately what we all want to see. Now we're really getting into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about some audience testing. Audience testing is another core component, especially as we've lost data available to us from the pixel. We've seen lookalike audiences deplete over the last year, and so we've shifted towards affinity audiences. So these are audiences that aren't specifically related to the product. So for example, if you have a protein brand, you might logically test people who are interested in going to the gym. But for additional testing, you could also look at things like camping and outdoors or travel, looking at people who are on the go and need easy options for protein in this specific example. We're definitely finding that when we've tested this over the past year, we were able to scale these interest audiences much more consistently over lookalike audiences. In a sense, the way that I've been approaching it for the past year is everyone has a need for food and beverage goods. Like we all have to eat. So I would just think about how to approach different audiences with your brand that's solving a unique pain point or interest in their day. Everyone has a need for it. It's just approaching that specific audience with that message at the right time. So how do we measure the success of all of these things that we are putting into our accounts? So as we lose signal and performance marketing tracking, we as marketers really need to take a step back and understand the overall impact of our marketing efforts on our business objectives. So to do this, we can add an additional layer of intelligence in our KPI reporting with a marketing efficiency ratio or a percent media spend to revenue. These are benchmarks that we can use to measure the health of our marketing. Gaining this more macro level indicator of performance like this percent media spend to revenue has allowed us to understand how we're pacing. So to give you an example, we can determine if our percent of media spend to revenue is lower than our target. And then this is going to indicate that we have room to scale up winning channels and tactics. However, if our percent media spend to revenue is higher than our target, then we need to scale back spend and find efficiencies. We typically see a percent media spend of revenue average for paid social of 20 to 40% for SMB brands, but I would also recommend doing an analysis of your operation costs to understand what percent media spend to revenue you are the most profitable at versus being in hyper growth mode. By doing this, it's going to give you a holistic view of your marketing and allow you much more scale, much more quickly and effectively for this new landscape post iOS 14. Another really useful thing that we've been using to measure holistically is lifetime value. So we tend to have very specific repurchase windows in F&B, and retention is one of the easiest ways to build a foundation for growth. So we found that using platforms like, in this example, we used Peel to measure LTV to understand how individual products or messages can affect the overall lifetime value of our customers. So for example, understanding which promotions are providing the most lifetime value for our customers, when are our customers dropping off in retention so that we can hit them with very specific targeted messaging or discounts at that time to help growth steady. We also have used this to look and see at what products are providing the most lifetime value for us. This can help us not just creative, it can help us with strategy, and it can also help us with audience building. This has allowed us to get a more holistic view of what our marketing efforts are truly providing. And last, we're going to explore some top trends for 2022 in the paid social space. So one of my biggest takeaways is diversifying platforms to take advantage of lower CPMs. So everyone knows CPMs are rising. If you look at CPMs in 2020 versus 2021 versus 2022, we know that CPMs on the rise, and it's on everybody's mind. Platforms like TikTok and Pinterest, where F&B is pretty often trending, we're seeing CPMs up to 80% lower than on Facebook. So we're recommending that we use these platforms for a high-level acquisition at a lower cost. And when we use a cross-channel strategy utilizing Facebook and Instagram and these other platforms, we're really getting a lot more out of our marketing efforts. We're also seeing a shift to organic style content, especially Reels and TikTok content. So investing in creatives that you can utilize across multiple platforms at a lower CPM is working super well. Also focusing on replicating current trends in the F&B space on these platforms. So we're currently seeing things like cook with me videos, replying to comments asking about specific ingredients, content featuring social media chefs or dietitians, those people with authority and social proof. Those are all doing super, super well. Additionally, we're seeing that customers really love to see transparency in the food and beverage space right now. So they want to know what's in their food, where does it come from, things like that. So make sure you're highlighting that if that's part of your core brand and especially part of your brand values. Customers are really resonating with those messages right now. So the biggest takeaways definitely are diversifying those platforms, especially TikTok, which is taking the media space by storm. So definitely consider getting in on that, as well as investing in influencers. So you get a unique reach from influencers, but also great content that you can reuse in other advertising. A very common strategy is being able to utilize content that we receive from influencers on our paid media efforts as well. Additionally, we're seeing a lot more scale in F&B brands for those brands that are measuring holistically and scaling based on a holistic approach to their reporting. Thank you all for listening. If you do have any questions about everything I talked about or would like a free audit to your paid media, please let us know. We've got an email here that you can reach out to, and I'd be more than happy to dig in further with you about everything that we talked about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberly. That's such a great point about the affinity audiences. I think for food and beverage, since food's such an integral part of our lives, it's a killer strategy for this niche. And that brings us to Brett from Gatsby to talk about influencer marketing, which ties straight into that user-generated content.
I was going to say, did you plan that, Catherine? That was a perfect segue.
Just slightly.
Yeah, Kimberly, thanks for the great tee up there on the top trends. That was perfect. Couldn't have asked for anything more. So hey everybody, I'm Brett, founder of Gatsby. I started this company about 5 years ago, just before some pretty notable activities like the Fire Festival and Cambridge Analytica. Like I started this company right before a ton of changes in the space, and we've just been kind of riding this wave of what consumers need or what brands need to help drive new channels for acquisition, in addition to things like paid advertising, which are really cool to see those different creative, by the way, side by sides on your presentation. So Gatsby has a unique approach to influencer marketing because we were born right at the time like the Fire Festival happened, where we saw brands shift a lot of attention towards the micro influencer space. And at the time, and really today still, most influencer marketing tools are still designed around the larger influencer. So people have more like hand-to-hand collaborations. They're monitoring each piece of content. They're doing a lot of DMing back and forth, tracking this on Google spreadsheets. And if they, have 50 influencers, they're happy. But there is a ton of opportunity on the micro and nano side, and the tools today have a much harder time of, serving that up to brands. So we built a solution that is nested directly within your Shopify environment, your Klaviyo environment, your Justuno environment, Omnisend, Sale Through, whatever you might be using already for your marketing automation. We built influencer marketing to, basically fill in all the gaps in those solutions to make it really easy for you. So kind of show you how this works and why it's great for food and beverage. Let me go ahead and turn this into a presentation mode. And I always forget how to do it on these things. Let's see.
You can just click slideshow on the top right.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I feel like a grandpa right now. Where is the button? Okay. So first thing, very important here to think about, and this is, I had some fun ahead of this meeting starting, talking about when I was looking through gifts from Carl's Jr. Because first thing that came to mind was Carl's Jr. when I thought about an advertisement for food, right? They sort of like stick in my mind, but nobody thinks a Carl's Jr. hamburger looks like this. You don't even expect it to when you go there. And so some of the panelists were talking about how they've heard that in cereal commercials, the milk is actually glue, or there's Play-Doh involved. Like basically, if you're getting an advertisement for a food product, there's a decent chance that it's been sort of modeled a certain way. You don't really trust that's what it's going to look like all the time. I love the coffee commercials where you just see like the milk pouring into the coffee and it's like oozing. It looks amazing. I can never make it look that good at home. But the point of this is that, you have 5 senses as a person, and there's smell, taste, and touch that you just cannot get from a computer screen, right? So a fashion brand, you can kind of see what this thing will look like. And that's the most important part maybe of buying a shirt or a pair of pants. But when it comes to food, you really need a trust factor in order for somebody to come and actually purchase that product. And Kimberly touched on this as well. Like you need that social proof, right? People that and have tried that product before. So I was mentioning before on the start of this call, Cometeer coffee. I've never had Cometeer before. It's like this cube of coffee you put in your mug and you pour water on it, and it's like a revolutionary technology for making coffee at home. But I was on a call yesterday with somebody I trust who told me that their wife loves it. It's the best coffee they've ever had, and now I'm about to go buy some. So getting that social proof, that word of mouth, is super huge, especially in the food and beverage industry. So people know this isn't how the burger is going to look, but when somebody posts an Instagram story of their actual smoothie inside of their, at-home blender that you have the same one at home, you just know this is what it's going to look like, right? And it looks delicious, it looks real, and you're more likely to trust it. So to bring more of this content into your arsenal is the goal here, right? You want this content to share on ads with companies like Mute 6, and you want this content broadcasted from your customers' feeds into their sphere of influence. So our software Gatsby helps you do this through automation. And I want to show you what we've built here and how this could work. So what we've done is we've built the idea of social capture, right? So the same way you might be used to capturing email address or capturing a phone number for SMS marketing, we now make it really easy for you to collect Instagram handles from your customers. And so if you can see here on these slides, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and open up the case study that shows this. You have a few different ways in which you can ask for social handle. At the order confirmation step, you can easily embed a Justuno form or a Klaviyo form or any form and start to collect Instagram handle right at post-purchase, just like this. This is a case study I'm going to go through in a second. You could also do it like I mentioned in the pop-up experience right here. One of our top customers uses a great Justuno form for this. You guys know Vulcan, the skate company. And you can just add this right from a Justuno form. They have a pre-built template for Gatsby, so out of the box, easy to add a field for handle. A third place that's popular to ask for Instagram handle is on landing pages. So again, just embed a form on a landing page, get them to give you their handle. Super easy, and I have a bunch of examples. The purpose of this is to start to identify which of your consumers can be great for driving new content for your social, campaigns, as well as to drive it to their own consumers. So if we look here at the different forms, so the top questions I get is like, how many people actually give you their handle? What do you have to give them? Not much. What's great is people give you their handle without really requiring much. In this case, this is a normal pop-up asking for email address. They added the field for handle. They're getting a 3.5% opt-in rate on this form over the past 90 days. On their landing page, which they drive their customers to, roughly 1 in 3 people are actually filling out this form, right? It's a much quicker and easier form to fill out than maybe a more detailed affiliate marketing form or some other more robust, kind of scary looking influencer marketing form. And thirdly, this is the biggest surprise to me when we rolled this out, is at the order confirmation page, roughly 7% of people are actually filling out this form. They just bought your products. They've chosen to spend their real money on it first. They're not DMing you asking for free stuff. They're buying your food and beverage, and then they're asking to be part of your program after that. So that's kind of, step one, is start to identify which customers you can work with on some social media campaigns. And then our software, Gatsby, will go and it will score all of their profiles for you, pull in the publicly available stats, like how many followers they have, their Instagram profile photo. We just rolled out TikTok, right, to Kimberly's point as well. And you can go ahead and you can start to sort and filter your customers by how influential they are. And again, the whole point of this is going to be to scale this. We're not going to have you doing one-on-one DMs, although you can, but we want to put them into segments and then allow you to automate outreach and track all the content they drive for you automatically. So what happens is, once they're in your Gatsby account, we can track every Instagram story and Instagram post they then broadcast and tag your brand in. So they receive that package in the mail, they open up their product, they start to eat it, drink it, and they can talk about it on social. Just to Kimberly's point about the advent, the real draw towards this on social. For some more numbers here, in this case study example, of the first 3,000 people who gave their handle, which didn't take very long, roughly half of them had enough influence to receive an initial outreach email. Again, this is not going to be hand-to-hand. You're kind of looking at top-level metrics like number of followers. In this case, this was their minimum follower count to qualify for the program. This was a Klaviyo email that got triggered automatically if they had more than that many followers. You can see here, when somebody gives you their handle, if they have at least this many followers, they get the automated collaboration invitation. At that point, you can see there's a huge open rate. Customers love to get more involved with the brand, especially if they gave you their Instagram handle. So an 80% open rate. And this is over 1,000 emails sent in this time period. 80% open rate, 90% open rate. I mean, it's incredible stuff. And then as soon as your ambassadors go and publish content, our system, Gatsby, will pick it up. They'll show you the content in your Gatsby account, and it will then trigger an automated reward email through a Klaviyo, a sale through an OmniSend, et cetera. So you can automatically send those rewards out to your consumers. Now, in this case study, for example, the first 3 months that this company, ProMix, was with us, we did not have Instagram story tracking available. And we rolled it out just before this case study, about 10 days before it. So for most of the time, 3 months in, about 6% of their consumers publish Instagram posts for the brand. And then just after we roll out stories, it's just been off to the races. I mean, people love to post stories. It's way easier to get a story published. And now we would expect upwards of 10, 15% at least of your consumers who qualify to publish content for you automatically. This content is saved high resolution, so you can go and send it to Mute 6 and have them publish content on ads for you with this content as well. You're going to get that consumer, that influencer's consent when they fill out the form. For example, like, I don't have it open right now, but if we open up another form, it's a good example of this. Like Pair of Thieves, while it's not a food and beverage brand, it's a great customer. You can see here that they do have this opt-in button to terms and conditions where you can get that consent for being able to repurpose it in your advertising. So with that, I'm gonna go back to the deck to kind of finish up here, and we'll open up, I'm sure, any questions at the end. So this kind of, you can see here on the deck, just kind of side by side how this strategy works. And it's really all about having that real social proof that people can rely on. So that's my quick presentation. And if you have any questions at all, we're available at gatsby.ai. You can chat us on there. We're a lean team. You might get me or a few folks on my team that I work very closely with, obviously, with any questions you might have. And my email is, I'll put it in the chat. It's just brett@gatsby.ai. So thank you so much for having me on today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brett. We really can't overstate how important influencer marketing is for food and beverage brands, but I really do agree. I think micro-influencers are hugely overlooked, especially for brands like this. So super helpful stuff. Thank you. And that brings us to our very own Zach Bailey.
Hey, everybody. Can you see my screen okay? All right. Well, I'll be walking you through some tips for our food and beverage brands with real life examples and some customer performance stats to benchmark for your current campaigns and to benchmark against maybe campaigns that you're investigating right now. Well, let's take a look at how using on-site messaging and promotions can improve your overall website's performance. So on average, food and beverage brands on Justuno increase time for visitors on site around about 4 minutes. And we can all agree that if we can have a visitor in our store for longer, we've increased our conversion opportunity, right? So generally, when visitors engaged with promotions, we saw that increased from around just 2 minutes to over 6 minutes. So having that on-site, what we'll call like a digital sales assistant, delivering your on-site messaging is going to keep that engagement and increase that by almost 4 minutes, and that's huge. Well, meanwhile, you know, the average opt-in and engagement rate with the promotion is, you know, over 9%. And when you look at your over average conversion rates without any promotions, that's going to hover around about 3% is what our data showed. But now when visitors do engage with promotions that are on site, we see that skyrocket to 15%. So that just shows us that on-site messaging is creating that persuasive messaging needed to increase that conversion. That's not to say, you know, that you should be covering your website with on-site messaging. These are the results of using them strategically to evaluate the customer experience and then to further optimize all of your other marketing efforts. But let's dive into 2 big tips here for our food and beverage brands, and let's take a look at some examples. So with lead capture, you know, that's a fundamental part of your on-site conversion strategy, but they can also provide a wealth of data and information beyond just simply getting the contact information. You can use them to have visitors segment in a way, you know, for example, if we're speaking specific to like dietary restrictions, visitors can select what type of products they want to receive information about. As an e-commerce brand, you never want to send, let's say, somebody information, if that person is selected that they're gluten-free, don't send them information that's not gluten-free, because they're going to quickly opt out and say, you know, this brand, they don't even have products that pertain to my needs. But the other thing that you can also use is, you know, to follow up with that welcome series and make sure that that's even more personalized. You know, think about and evaluate what are the value props that your products are bringing, and how can you further personalize that. For those companies out there, we've seen a lot of this recently, especially during Black Friday and the past Cyber Monday, that we're experiencing stockouts. You know, that's something that can happen if let's say a certain food or a certain product goes viral. I mean, that's always fun, but it can create challenges, right? So what you can do there is you can also have lead captures that are going to surface that supply chain and make sure that people are signing up for restocking information. One thing that we found that was great with some of our partners is that SMS is great when people are having access to check on their shipments and things like that. So if you can present that early on in your on-site messaging, that's going to be a very beneficial strategy for your list growth in both email and SMS. So here's a great example here. This is a brand that also partners with a large grocery company here in Texas, but Snow Monkey wanted to increase customer acquisition and create a branded online shopping experience that united their e-commerce operation with their grocery store presence. Yeah, and we see this a lot with food and beverage. You know, you're probably going to have your products in a brick and mortar. Well, they ran a targeted ad to drive traffic to the site, where they were greeted with a brand memorable lead capture. They asked for both the email and zip code so that they could geo-target emails and notify subscribers when products were in stock at the brick and mortar grocery store near them. Well, this personalization from a single additional field inside their lead capture, it drove up the rates. Plus that added field, it didn't put a dent in the signups. It actually increased 5 times over, probably because people knew they were going to get messages that were relevant to their needs, right? That's what's so powerful. That's the creative part. So here, when we take a look at some of these examples of customers and brands that you're probably very familiar with, you know, for the food and beverage clients, they actually have around the same average performance when they've introduced coupons into their promotions compared to when they don't have coupons. You know, with Justuno, when people ask us what's best, we always go to what any marketing company should advise, and that's to A/B test, because things are always going to be specific to your brand and your visitors. But if you can find through A/B testing that you can protect your profit margins and you can use alternative incentives like free samples, I mean, what other way is better for a visitor to get something that all visitors love, which is free, right? But it's also something that helps them be exposed to maybe products that they weren't investigating. And also, if you use things like branded koozies, like you see with Liquid Death, or if you're you know, showing people how easy it is within a exit offer, if they just click that get offer CTA, that can add that free product right to their cart. Again, if you've got great products, there's nothing better than getting your products into the visitor's hands. That's going to create that brand recognition. And if you have free products like koozies, or we've seen like a barbecue spice company here in Texas, they actually had a sweepstakes for a free grill. That's just going to create more and more brand recognition. Some great examples here. So the other thing here, as far as with Justuno, is being able to provide those personalized recommendations through our Commerce AI product. You'd be able to, if somebody's adding a specific item to cart, show items that pair with that, especially when you're on maybe a product page and you're introducing a recipe. Have the Commerce AI target that product page, and then have those products that couple well with that recipe that's being shown. So it makes the visitor journey easy. It increases the average order value, and the experience is good, because there's nothing like, you know, adhering to a recipe and you forgot one item and now you have to go to the store and search for that. So that's great. And then of course, the in-cart complementary products. If somebody's excited about a product, why not expose them to other likes products so that they can explore more and more products that you have to offer. So here, what we're also looking at, and it was great to hear from both Brett and Kimberly regarding like the influence marketing that's going on. I know for what is it, the Olipop, they have the influencer Camila Cabero, and can you imagine that you see her speaking on Instagram about this brand, and then if you land on site and you see that mirrored same type of lifestyle image, that's where people really start to remember the brand. It's the story. You know, with your brand, you want to help sell the experience, not just the product. So if you can mirror those same type of examples like we see here, hey, Camila Cabello's followers, or if you saw a specific incentive inside of that, trigger marketing, you want to make it easy for your visitors to access that, because what you've done is you've accelerated the conversion opportunity there. So use what we call UTM targeted campaigns to mirror what you're seeing in your trigger marketing and help increase your conversion opportunity there. And lastly here, again, we've talked about how it's so important for you to understand that with food and beverage, there is a higher barrier to that initial purchase. So through Justuno, have those geo-targeted campaigns. Anytime you can customize and maybe speak to the geo region that people are in. There's certain types of products that certain areas will buy more of, or have that first initial purchase. Samples. I can't stress that enough for our food and beverage. Anytime somebody can sample that and then again spread that word of mouth, that to me goes far and beyond. And again, you can use videos and things like that inside of Justuno promotions so that people can see what it's like when other people sample your products, and that's a great way to persuade people even further. Now, here in this example, one of the funnest things I've seen with our food and beverage companies, and I recommend go look at Liquid Death, have fun with your brand. People remember the brand story. Play on the marketing secular calendar, National Chili, Toast, Tortilla Chip Day. All of that kind of stuff is really fun. People love food. So double down on your brand voice. People are going to remember that, and reach out to Justuno so we can help you guys explore some of these same examples that we have presented today in the slide deck. Thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Zach. I am shocked it's National Toast Day. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for that comment. I know, National Tortilla Chip Day too. Thank you so much. I think that the additional zip code for lead captures is super key, because I know more and more D2C brands are finding their way into grocery stores. Shout out to how I actually discovered Olipop would be in my local grocery store. So if that's something you guys are looking into doing, I think that is key. Less is not always more for your pop-ups. And that brings us to Evan from Postscript to talk about bringing the fun back to SMS.
Hey everyone. I personally actually love going later in these sessions because you're going to find themes that are sort of have already been touched on by Kimberly, by Zach, by Brett throughout this, which is great that we get to sort of tell a story that's really cohesive here. Again, I know I've said this before, but Postscript is a SMS marketing platform for Shopify stores. So we're really focused on sending the right message at the right time to the right person. SMS is a new channel. It's a channel that needs to have sort of a very specific strategy to be executed at an extremely high level. And what we've seen is sort of the scales tipping in this past year or so, where it is very possible to have SMS become your number one revenue driving channel. And we really think that this is what the goal should be for a bunch of brands going forward. Of course, you have to know what's right for your brand, and you have to understand sort of what your acquisition channels are. But we really believe in this channel. We believe that it's something that's going to be significant for anyone in the e-commerce space going into this decade. What we're going to talk about today is just a little bit about the strategies that we've seen some of our top food and beverage brands use to actually drive revenue, both online and offline, how they've leveraged SMS, and then a few things actually from my own personal experience in terms of what I've done with SMS going forward. I think it's important to sort of set the stage on this. And I think, again, going back to a cohesive story, Kimberly touched on this. Customer acquisition is getting more and more expensive. This isn't 2010 anymore. You're not able to build an entire business just off of Facebook and Instagram. Well, they're still an extremely important part of your funnel, and they have to be treated so. There's going to be other things that you have to do in order to combat the fact that it is more expensive to acquire a new customer than it was even last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, whatever it is. For us, the answer of that is an increased customer lifetime value. When we're looking at acquiring a customer and what you're willing to actually spend to acquire that customer, you have to understand what the customer lifetime value is. Let's say it costs $25 to acquire a customer. That customer value for you is, for a $50 purchase, you have 50% margins, and you're about break even on that first purchase, right? If you have a really strong retention program in place, using SMS and then also using other tools as well, making sure you get to that second, that third, that fourth order means you're able to actually spend more to acquire that customer. There's different nuances to this in terms of like, are you willing to actually spend more to acquire a customer and be in a loss on that first period? Then you would need to understand what your payback period is. But really what the core of it is If you can increase the value of each and every customer who buys the first time, then you can spend more to acquire that customer. And with that, you're able to then sort of invest more in these other acquisition channels if you do this properly. Why we personally think that SMS is the channel of this decade is a few things. First is sort of how you go about this and how this actually would be represented. First, you're able to convert more visitors into purchasers. So with the extremely high open rate of SMS, you're able to actually increase the intent of the traffic that you're getting to your website. You're able to do extremely great retargeting so that you can have the right people on your website. You're able to nurture really strong customer relationships. So with the conversational aspect of SMS, you're able to turn sort of those one-time customers into your VIP customers who are going to like really advocate for you going forward. Then you're also able to create an experience by delivering high quality support. So if we think about where we interact with our friends and our families, it's actually mostly over text. And so if you're able to be in the place that people want to talk naturally, you're able to deliver customer experiences that are way better than, you know, an email that may go back and forth about a customer support issue that gets lost. Maybe they don't respond very quickly, and you're able to just really tighten up that CX process. Why this actually happens and sort of how we've seen it represented is that we've actually seen a 16% click-through rate for food and beverage text. So brands in the food and beverage industry who are seeing campaigns on average will have a 16% click-through rate. So we've seen that compared to what an email open rate is. You know, an open rate, I know it's a lot harder to track these days, but a good open rate was around 20% normally for those campaigns. In SMS, that's your click-through rate or very close to it. So you're able to drive a higher volume of traffic to your site compared to the list size that you have. The intimate customer interactions, again, talking about this is where your friends and family like to communicate. And then also pointing out, we live in a very mobile first world. I think this is extremely important. People are browsing on mobile. They are shopping on mobile. If we are sending them a text, it means that we're defaulting to where they like to actually spend most of their time outside of obviously work, where most of us are on desktops. How we think about an SMS program, I think, is extremely important. Being a newer channel or a channel that's being more adopted now, I don't think that many people have really taken the time to fully understand and digest what is the value of an SMS program. And so we've done that here at Postscript. There's two components of it. It's your subscriber list size, and then actually what is the value of each subscriber. So subscriber list size, it really comes down to your acquisition rate. Our great friends at Justuno, we use them all the time for increasing the acquisition rate, making sure that we're acquiring new SMS subscribers at a pace that is sort of increasingly with A/B tests and all of that great stuff. The second part of that equation is really what is the value of each and individual subscriber? And that comes down to a couple of different components. The first one being what is the revenue that you generate for each message that you send out to each subscriber? So this could be, you know, you earn $2 a message, $3 a message on average for every text that you send out. What is the messages you send per subscriber each month? Are you able to send out 4 texts, 6 texts? And again, we believe that these should be something that are extremely targeted, that you're using the right segments to send out these campaigns, that you're using automations that are going to be sort of sending the right message at the right time in their customer journey. But if you are sending more messages in a way that is, I would say, not like spam, so we're not just sending out discounts all the time, but you're able to actually be very creative, use things like, you know, contextual for like the Super Bowl that was mentioned, all of these great events, you're able to leverage SMS to send those messages as well if you're getting very creative about it. And then if you have those two things multiplied together, the unsubscribe rate in the first 30 days to account for people who are actually going to drop off your list. So I want to focus on these sort of 4 individual components today in terms of our actionable tips, because this is how we can actually sort of increase the value of your SMS program. And one thing as we go through this, I want to point out is that I think it's really important to acknowledge that food and beverage is not just for D2C. SMS is not just for D2C. If we're looking at a food and beverage brand, I know those POs that you can get from HEB are going to be significantly higher than what you can see in terms of like an e-com order. And so understanding how you are going to, one, get those POs, and then, sort of drive people to the stores to fulfill those POs is extremely important for your business. So as we're going through this, there's going to be sort of an omni-channel approach in terms of what these tips are about. The first one is acquisition. So there's 3 sort of acquisition tips that we have here that go beyond what Justuno can do, because I figured that they would cover that much better than I could in one slide. And the first one is keywords on inserts. So if you have a box for your product, if you have a palette that you're able to slip something underneath, having an insert that has a keyword that they can text into is a great way to turn someone who is purchasing at retail into someone who is actually in your CRM. You have their information and you can actually reach out to them directly. The second one is QR codes on packaging. So I know QR codes are probably a little bit more back in style after Coinbase and what they did at the Super Bowl. But having a QR code on your packaging itself, you can redirect that actually to pop up basically a keyword pre-populated in someone's phone, and they can subscribe to your SMS program extremely quickly. What you could actually do is associate this with a keyword that would have a direct reply that could give instructions on how to use your products, or enroll them into a sequence that has 6 or 7 different tips that you send out over 60 days about the way to best use the product going forward. So turn it into an educational piece and a value add, as well as obviously getting the information that you want from them, which is their phone number and who they are. And then also handouts during sampling. So I know that as smaller in the SMB CPG space or the food and beverage space, sampling is sort of like a rite of passage. You got to go to the grocery store, you got to do your handouts, you have to go to whatever. I was going to gyms when I was working in the e-com space for a sports nutrition brand. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do from that perspective, and making sure that you have the keywords again on your handouts for those. A great way to increase a revenue per message is really executing product launches well with SMS. So because of the high open rates, SMS is really great for making sure that you're moving product quickly and you're getting in front of the people who are going to be, most excited about that launch. It's really important in the food and bev space to make sure that you are expanding your product line, introducing new flavors, introducing new sort of product line extensions, so new types of products, whether you were selling like peanuts before and now it's cashews. I know there's making sure you're doing that slow expansion is extremely important, and SMS is a fantastic channel to actually use to nurture that experience and make sure that you're going to gain as much value as possible out of that launch. One of the things that we've seen really well, or done really well from a brand's perspective, is you could even do something like giving early access to a product launch to only your SMS subscribers, make it feel exclusive, make it feel like it's a VIP experience. And then when you're sending out these messages, make sure that it matches your brand. I know Zach said, you got to have personality in what you're doing, and especially over SMS. No one wants to get, hey, here's 15% off. You unsubscribe from those texts because you're going to get it in a day or 2 again. So if you look at what Olipop did here, there is so much personality. That it's Ben who's actually writing this message. And that's where I think SMS can become like a really magical sales channel. Reordering and subscriptions. The most valuable customers to a food and beverage business are the ones who buy from you all the time. The easiest way to sort of execute on that is through making sure they subscribe. And so we have fantastic partners that we integrate with, from Recharge to Smarter to Repeat, who either drive subscription revenue themselves, or in the case of Repeat, they actually do use AI to predict when you should be reordering. And then you can send a message out from PostScript at the exact time that their system predicts someone is sort of on pace to run out of the product based off of historical data that the brand has collected. What this really does, and how we can increase your customer lifetime value, is we can increase the repeat order rate of subscribers. Using SMS, you can talk to your subscribers about new products that you're having coming out. You can actually use keywords to skip within message. So I think it's one of my favorite examples that we integrate with Recharge is you have a transaction coming up in 3 days. You get a text saying, hey, your order of collagen protein is coming up. you can text skip to skip this order. And I know that it sounds weird that skipping an order is my idea of increasing your customer lifetime value. But what that actually does is the people who have 4 or 5 products on their backlog and they sort of already have it in their cabinet, they can maintain and still be a subscriber and then just skip for this month. So instead of canceling their entire program, they're just pushing off the order for the next month. Increase subscription program growth. We can reduce subscription churn, which I just talked about. So there's all of these great things where increasing customer lifetime value is the goal of these programs. That's what SMS is best at. So using them together is extremely valuable. Getting out the right messages, again, is extremely important. So SMS isn't really only about driving immediate revenue. While it's really good at that, we also want to make sure that we're leaning into community building by providing education. I talked about how we could kind of do that with those inserts, but I think this example from Perfect Keto here is a great way to sort of look at it, that they're proactively going out and asking for feedback. And if there's anything that they can do to help them get started, and this is a really easy thing that you can do with a welcome series, include that in once, on a delay, using an event of once an order has been delivered. And in this case, you could be asked about whether there's anything confusing about the product, and then respond to that as a human to support them and really turn them in for someone who maybe would have had an okay experience into someone who will buy from you a second, a third, a fourth time, or be someone who actually promotes you in your Instagram stories and really starts to love your brand. The one thing that I do want to sort of caution people with this, and caution is maybe a little bit of a strong word, but make sure you have the CX support ready to sort of respond to this. When you send out 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 text messages asking about feedback for something, you're going to get a significant number of replies. So make sure you just plan for it, that you resource for it. It's going to give you a ton of extremely valuable information, but it is going to be some work that you would have to sort of make sure you're staffed for. The last one, or the second last one here before I wrap up, I know we're getting close to 3:15. I want to give Carly some time, is making sure you're extremely personalized in your sending. So a great example with your super here is how they set up a different welcome series based off of the product that was purchased. We want to make sure that we're, again, making sure that this channel doesn't turn into email, that we're using all of the data from all of your other pieces of your tech stack to send the right messages, to send context within those messages that makes it feel extremely personal to the people that you were sending it to make sure that they feel like this is something that's worth receiving. Because if they don't, it's really easy to unsubscribe. So the quality of those messages is extremely important. And then finally, the bonus, let's drive traffic to retail locations. So one of the great things that I think, like Zach pointed out, was collecting the sort of the state that they're in, or that location there. And one of the advantages that you have with SMS over email is that by default, you really do collect the state because of what people have in terms of their area code for their phone number. Now, this isn't going to be 100% accurate. People keep the same phone number. If they move states, that happens. But if you have a massive PO that got placed into, that you got ordered for, say, New York as an example, you're all over New York's for a major store, and you know that you need to move product off shelves, or else you're going to have to buy it back, or else you're not going to get that second PO. Using SMS is one of the best channels that you can to actually turn your D2C subscribers into someone who will actually help you get that second PO at the grocery store. You could even sort of say, hey, it helps our brand out to, if you go and you buy in store from us for your next order, when you send a campaign. I know that when I buy from SMBs or any business that isn't sort of the enterprise level, I really want to help them out in terms of what's best for them. So if someone appealed to me saying, hey, go to, I'm Canadian, so I'm not going to say the same grocery store, but go to Sobeys and buy our product, I would go there instead of ordering online, just to make sure I'm helping out the brand. Oh. And finally, you can visit our website for a 30-day free trial and to chat with an SMS expert. I'm sure we'll have more details in a follow-up email, but really appreciate everyone's time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Evan. I'm pretty sure getting a text about a new flavor dropping is probably most loyal customers' Christmas dream. And that brings us to our final presentation of the day. Carly from ShipBob, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everyone. Give me 1 second. I don't know about anyone else, but I am starting to get very hungry. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. So my name is Carly Dodell. I am the Senior Partner Manager at ShipBob. I've been with ShipBob for a little bit over 4 years, so know a lot about e-commerce and know a lot about fulfillment. Awesome. So let's get into it. I want to provide everyone with just a quick high-level overview of who ShipBob is and what we do. So ShipBob is a global logistics platform that fulfills e-commerce orders for direct-to-consumer brands. We have 30 global fulfillment centers. We have an integrations marketplace. We do B2B fulfillment as well as D2C. We allow our merchants to have custom packaging and gift notes and more. And then we have 100% coverage of 2-day delivery, and we are a carbon neutral fulfillment company. And then those are all of the countries that we have warehouses in. So what I'm going to be talking about today is building a resilient, flexible supply chain, omni-channel diversification, the shopper experience, and sustainability. So these are some quick stats about how behaviors of the end customer are always changing. So everyone on this call knows this probably better than me, but here are some quick stats that I wanted to share with everyone. 52% of consumers are more likely to purchase from a brand with shared values. We see this a lot, especially with like our brands that are body positive, or we see this a lot with food brands that are sustainable. And then another stat is that 73% will use multiple sales channels before purchasing. I am definitely guilty of that. I look at Target.com, I look at Walmart, I look at the Shopify store. I pretty much look at literally every platform that the product's on. And then 77% of the consumers are concerned about the environmental impact of products they buy. And then 74% cite upfront shipping costs are the most valuable differentiator when making a purchase decision. So I'm going to hit on that last point on how you can have cost affordable shipping and offer 2-day shipping. Cool. So decentralize your fulfillment. And really what that means is distributing your inventory so it's closer to your end customer. Whenever I'm talking to e-commerce brands, and especially food brands, this is super important, right? Because your product needs to get to the end customer faster than any other product when it comes to freshness. And so how it works for us is we recommend our food brands split their inventory and distribute it. And really how we do that is we can look at, previous Shopify or BigCommerce, whatever e-commerce platform you're on, we can look at your historical shipping data, and based off the zip codes that you send to, we can actually recommend how you split your inventory. So we can look at it and we can say, hey, you should have some inventory in Chicago because it's super central in the US, have some inventory on the West Coast, and have some inventory on the East Coast. And really what that's doing is when the end customer comes to your store and they check out, it's going to get routed from that fulfillment center that's closer to them. And really what that's doing, it's cutting down on transit times and it's getting it to them at a more cost-effective rate, right? Everything's going standard ground shipping, and you don't have to rely on those expensive services like 2-day air. Awesome. So digitalize your warehouse management. Use data and technology to make smarter inventory management decisions. So basically what a WMS is, it's a warehouse management system. And so for ShipBob, that's our dashboard. And really what our dashboard allows our brands to do is we have expiration, FIFO, and lot management, which is obviously crucial to food brands. We have real-time global fulfillment visibility. So being able to see what's going on with all of your orders, right? So if you're using distributed inventory, it's super crucial to know what's going on with your products in the US, as well as what's going on with your products maybe in Canada or Australia and London, and having that all filter into one spot so you're not having to manage multiple dashboards. And then accurate inventory levels across all your warehouses, and then dynamic connections to local carriers. So with ShipBob, you get discounted rates. We connect to all the major carriers. So when someone goes and checks out it will get routed via the carrier that's going to get it to the end customer fastest and the most affordable. And then we have a rules engine. And then we have, of course, an app store with all the leading integrations and e-commerce softwares. Cool. So switch to a 3PL. This is obviously huge. Globally, 37% of merchants plan to hire or change a 3PL or fulfillment providers in the coming years. So 3PL is definitely something that you should consider if you're doing self-fulfillment. I mean, there's so many endless benefits to using a 3PL. Some of them are multinational operation infrastructure. So this one's pretty big. We see this with a lot of our merchants that are doing self-fulfillment, is they typically only have one fulfillment center. So let's say they have a fulfillment center maybe in Chicago, Illinois. Like I said, it's just super central in the US. However, as we know, Chicago gets horrible snowstorms and has pretty unpredictable weather. So if that happens, basically all of their orders are delayed. Whereas if you distribute your inventory correctly, then you can just route all of your orders to go out from a different fulfillment center. It lowers risks and charges, right? If you want to try testing out a new market, let's say you're a food brand and you want to, try testing out the EU or the UK. And so with ShipBob, you can send some stock to those locations, and let's say, hey, maybe you entered the market a little too prematurely. You can then just go ahead and send your inventory back into a different fulfillment center, and you don't own that fulfillment center. So there's really low risk involved. And then, of course, fulfilling B2B orders. This is super important. We see a lot of 3PL struggle with this, as well as self-fulfillment, as well as our merchants that are doing self-fulfillment struggle with this when it comes to fulfilling B2B orders. So, shipping to Whole Foods or Kroger or Mariano's or even Target, they have a lot of requirements. So making sure your 3PL can handle that and is equipped to be able to fulfill those B2B orders for you. And then obviously packing solutions to support sustainability. And then I know I mentioned previously, but being able to have a cost-effective 2-day delivery option. Awesome. So 53% of brands are investing in tools that allow them to sell anywhere. I think this is crucial. Not only should you be selling on Shopify, you should also be thinking about how you can sell on social channels like Instagram or TikTok, being able to be, in like Whole Foods and these grocery chains, as well as on their .coms. This is a trend we're seeing a ton with our merchants. I'm going to give an example in the next slide of one of our merchants that is doing this really well. But it just allows you to get in front of more end consumers if you're in multiple channels. And so this is just basically saying that omnichannel is not going anywhere. We've been seeing a huge shift of our brands that are on Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce or just on an e-commerce platform in general, adding this B2B aspect to their businesses as well. And what I mean by that is shipping into these big box retailers as well as being on their .coms. Okay, awesome. And this is an example of ours, our client of ours, the Caker. They're a perfect example of, they were a Shopify brand, and then they sell these like very premium cake mixes. I highly recommend you check them out if you're not familiar with them. But essentially, like I was saying, they were on Shopify, and then they got approached by, I believe it was Macy's and Neiman Marcus, to have their physical product in their store and on their website. So they needed a 3PL to be able to handle the influx of order volume they were getting, as well as being able to connect to these retailers. And so they went ahead and onboarded with ShipBob. And basically what they said was, when they opened up B2B as a channel, they even saw their Shopify orders go up, right? Because let's say you're in Macy's and you see their product and you want to go ahead and Google their product, their Shopify store would pop up as well. And then they were getting orders through these B2B platforms as well as through their Shopify store. So delight shopper experiences. So delivery speeds can make or break a purchase decision. I think we've all been there, right? Where you have to get a product in a couple days, you forgot it was someone's birthday or something. I'm definitely guilty of that. And so with ShipBob, what we can do is, here's an example of one of our clients, Wrap Life. They're a Shopify brand, and what we do is we actually have badging. So what this does for brands, it gets an estimated delivery date. So when a merchant's checking out, or even if they're on the fence, they can see that 2-day option, and it will help convert that customer. And then the badging obviously helps with building trust through transparency, cart abandonment, and then increasing conversions in AOV. We see a lot of our merchants offer free 2-day shipping if you spend, $100 or $200. And then it encourages repeat purchases because you're delivering on expectations of everything should be at your door in 2 days or less. Awesome. So I'm not going to do as justice to SMS, but the power of post-purchase experience with email and SMS. So automate your order notification emails and SMS to let your customer know when their orders have been received, packaged, and sent out for delivery. We see a lot of our clients offering this. I think Verb Energy just does an amazing job at SMS. I would love if you put in the chat some brands that are, doing SMS really well. I'm always interested. But right now, ShipBob is launching an integration with Klaviyo and Attentive to be able to give these detailed updates when it comes to SMS and restock, right? Because we're the fulfillment provider. We know as soon as inventory is ready and at our warehouse and ready to be shipped out. So we're able to give a lot more detail to brands on what's going on with inventory. And then differentiate your brand in last mile. So delight shoppers with memorable unboxing experience. So 40% of shoppers will share a product image on social if it comes in a branded packaging. This is obviously huge. We see all of our top brands using custom packaging, especially our food brands. I think Emma Chamberlain's brand, she does it really well with her custom packaging. As well as we have a lot of our food brands will have insulated packaging when it comes to preserving the freshness of their product. And then last but not least is offsetting your carbon emissions. So like I mentioned before, ShipBob is a green fulfillment center. We really try to stay away from a lot of plastics and bubble wraps. And we do this by partnering with Pashama to offset our carbon emissions. And we also have an app with them. So if our merchants want to also offset their carbon emissions, they can go ahead, install that app and do that as well. So to recap, meeting 2022 customers' expectations require a powerful global fulfillment network, omni-channel presence, and loyalty driving shopper experience. And then, of course, I cannot leave you without an offer. So if you want to get started with ShipBob or just curious, I will share my email in the chat, and we're offering $1,000 in free shipping credits. And if you want to take advantage of that, go to shipbob.com/Justuno. And of course, I will share it in the chat as well, but thank you. And then I will hand it back over to the Justuno team.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was awesome, Carly, and super cool about the $1,000 in free shipping credits. That's amazing. I know we're almost at time, but I wanted to run through some of the really great questions you guys have been submitting. And first up, this one is actually for you as well, Carly. Does ShipBob ensure the cheapest cost option with various carriers when shipping out?
Yeah, we do. So we partner with UPS, DHL, FedEx, basically all the big carriers, plus some local and regional carriers as well. And so when someone goes and checks out, it will populate the most cost-effective shipping option and the one that's going to get it there the cheapest. So it might be a different carrier every time, but the carrier it is selecting is going to be the most cost affordable. And if there's one carrier like, I strongly dislike UPS, we can just go ahead and take it out of the algorithm.
Awesome. Okay. Good stuff. This next one's actually for you, Evan. Are all text messages sent through PostScript automatically compliant with all SMS laws like the Florida bill?
Yes, everything that we do at Postscript is very heavily focused on compliance, whether that's waking hours and making sure we're doing that properly, so there's nothing being sent out outside of them, whether that's compliance, which I'm sure the Justuno team can talk about. We work very closely with them to make sure all list growth is compliant as well. And we have a full page on our website that you can come and check out. We work directly with carriers. We've got a full legal team, so it's something we take extremely seriously.
Awesome. It's good to hear. I know you can get into trouble quickly with SMS. This next one's actually back to you, Carly. How has the driver shortage we've seen during the pandemic been resolved on the logistics side?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, we have carrier accounts with like UPS and DHL, so we really haven't seen a ton of that. We also have partnerships when it comes to freight. We've seen obviously a lot of issues with getting your inventory into the US, especially if it's going via water and freight. I mean, I think everyone's seen the LA ports and how backed up they are. So what ShipBob is doing is we are partnering with a freight company, and basically what we're able to do is expedite your inventory into the US. And so if you're curious to know how we're doing that, I'll go ahead and share my email, and feel free to shoot me a note.
Awesome. Sounds good. Let's do two more. This one's for you, Kimberly. So should I just stay away from Facebook? Traditionally, it's been our strongest platform, but it's getting beyond my budget now, thinking TikTok and Instagram, perhaps.
Yeah, I wouldn't stay away from Facebook just because it's such a powerhouse. So we're definitely not recommending you stay away from it. We are recommending that you diversify. So we've been using other platforms like TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, for upper level awareness based or acquisition based marketing, and then really using Facebook to drive an additional touch point, as well as remarketing and retention is still bread and butter on Facebook. As far as Facebook and Instagram, everyone is there. So yeah, definitely still would invest ad dollars there.
Awesome. Would totally agree. This last one is for you, Zach. How best should we be retargeting our customers? Is that through UTM tracking, or are there some other useful methods? So I think definitely partly to you, Zach, but then maybe back to Kimberly for some great social stats.
Yeah, I mean, with retargeting, you can definitely use our lead captures in combination with the Justuno Plus feature called Audience Sync, where you're gathering that first party data and then that's syncing into your Facebook ad manager and your Google ad manager in a secure hashed email way. And then you could also, for any customers that are coming from specific ads, you could do the UTM targeting and then gather that data and further optimize that so that you can retarget later. But I think also, like you'd mentioned, Katie, that might be another extension of a question to our other members here.
Kimberly, any thoughts?
Yeah, for remarketing, we actually see a really strong cross-channel strategy. We actually recommend like Justuno to a lot of our clients simply because social works in tandem with so many others, platforms. So remarketing on social, but also remarketing through email, remarketing through SMS. When you take all of these and combine them into one full strategy, they all work together to kind of build out a really full, robust remarketing strategy. I think, my philosophy is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. You might find that certain audiences perform better on one platform versus others. And the more data you get, and as your business grows, that will kind of grow with it. But yeah, definitely agree that it kind of is a cross-channel strategy for that.
Most definitely. I think every brand needs to be fully invested in an omni-channel strategy. Well, since we're a little bit over time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I just want to say thank you again to all of our panelists. You guys had such great insights for these food and beverage brands. And thank you to our attendees. I'm really glad you guys chose to spend 75 minutes with us. Check out the chat for additional links for all of our partner offers. And we will be sending the recording to you all shortly. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, y'all.